Hello and welcome to the Linkee Quiz. 4 little questions, 1 big link. Good luck everyone. For those of you that have not played Linkee before, I'm just going to go through some of the rules. So, how to play. Listen to and answer all 4 questions. You get 1 point for each question you have got correct. For a bonus point, can you work out the link between the 4 answers? So you'll have 4 questions and you'll have to find the answer for each of those questions. Once you've got an answer for each of them, you can then try to figure out what the link is between all 4 of those answers. Here is an example question for you. So, question 1. The wheel in a car is called a blanking wheel. The wheel in a car is called a blanking wheel. So you need to write down your answer to that first question and then have a think about the next answers. Question 2. Jack something is nipping at your toes. Jack something is nipping at your toes. So you write down your answer for that question. Question 3. North, south, east and blank. What is that? North, south, east and blank. And question 4 is actor Will blank was in Men in Black. Actor Will something was in Men in Black. So now you should have an answer for question 1, question 2, question 3 and question 4. I'm hoping some of you may see the link here. If not, I am going to give you a clue, and that clue is surnames. So have a look at the answers you've got, think about the clue surnames, and have a think about what the link to all of these might be. So to go over the answers to these questions for our example question, the wheel in a car is called a steering wheel, but I only wanted that steer bit of the answer. Question 2, Jack Frost is nipping at your toes, so I wanted Frost. Question 3, north, south, east and west, so I wanted west. And question 4, actor Will Smith was in Men in Black. So the answers that you should have are steer, Frost, west and Smith. And in the real thing, you would get a mark for each of those answers. So steer, Frost, west and Smith. The clue that I gave you was surnames. So I'm hoping that some of you realise that these are all surnames of adults who work in the school. You've got Miss Steer, Miss Frost, Mrs. West and Mrs. Smith. So well done if you managed to spot that Linkee. So like I said, you'll get a point for each answer you got correct, and then you get an extra point if you then manage to spot the link. Now this one was just an example, this was just to have a go, so the next slides will be then your first questions. Okay, so this is your first round. You're going to get 4 questions and then you have to think about what the link is to those 4 questions. So, question 1. Name the popular food made by Captain Birch Eye that's covered in breadcrumbs. I've even given you a little picture clue there. So have a think and name the popular food made by Captain Birch Eye that's covered in breadcrumbs. Question number 2. Name the glass that reflect a car's headlights. You find them in the middle of the road in the tarmac. So what is the name of that glass that reflects a car's headlights? And you'll often find them in the middle of the road on the tarmac. Question 3. 12 inches equals 1 watt. 12 inches equals 1 watt. Now, if you've got question 1 and question 2, it might give you a clue as to what question 3 might be. And question 4, name Noddy's friend who is a wise bearded gnome. And I've given a little picture there for you. Name Noddy's friend who is a wise bearded gnome. So once you've got the answer to all 4 of those questions, what you are going to do is have a think about what links all of these answers. So have a think about each answer and what then links them. Okay, so round 2. Your first question is, who is Winnie-the-Pooh's best friend? Who is Winnie-the-Pooh's best friend? Question 2. Who is Susie Sheep's best friend? Who is Susie Sheep's best friend? Now that one you might know if you have got younger brothers or sisters, or if you watched this when you were a little bit younger. Question 3. In the book Charlotte's Web, who was Charlotte's four-legged friend? So in the book Charlotte's Web, who was Charlotte's four-legged friend? And question 4. Who is Kermit the Frog's girlfriend? Who is Kermit the Frog's girlfriend? So you've got who is Winnie the Pooh's best friend? Who is Susie Sheep's best friend? In the book Charlotte's Web, who was Charlotte's four-legged friend? And who is Kermit the Frog's girlfriend? So I need an answer for each one of those questions. And once you've answered each one of those questions, I want you to then have a think about what the link for those questions might be, those answers might be. So what links all of those answers? So have a think about what links all of these answers. And then I want you to write that down as well for an extra mark. Moving on to our next set of questions. Remember, what you have to do is answer each of the questions. So you answer all 4 questions, and then once you've got the answer to all 4 of those questions, you then have to figure out what links all 4 of those answers. Question 1. Which supermarket is famous for selling frozen food? So have a think, which supermarket is most famous for selling frozen food? Question 2. What sort of pepper is very hot? What sort of pepper is very hot? I've even given you a little picture clue there as well. Which bird is typically eaten at Christmas? That's question 3. Which bird is typically eaten at Christmas? And question 4. What are the biggest animals in the world? They live in the sea and can grow longer than 2 buses. So, going over those questions for you, we've got which supermarket is famous for selling frozen food, which sort of pepper is very hot, which bird is typically eaten at Christmas, and what are the biggest animals in the world. Once you've got an answer for each of those questions, what you have to do is have a look and think and see whether there is a link between all of those answers. And then you need to write down what that link would be, as well as the answers to all 4 of those questions. On to the next round. So, question 1. What is another name for a baked potato? What is another name for a baked potato? So instead of calling it a baked potato, what do you sometimes call that kind of potato? Question 2. A container full of costumes is called a fancy what box? So a fancy blank box. What do you usually call it? It's a fancy something box. What is the answer to that question? Question 3. If a player scores 3 goals in a game, it's called a what? What is it called when a football player, scores 3 goals in a game? It has a special name. It's called a what? And question 4, a person who walks along a wire at the circus is called a what rope walker? So someone who walks along a wire at a circus is called a what rope walker? So we've got another name for a baked potato. A container full of costumes is called a fancy what box. If a player scores 3 goals in a game, it's called a what? And a person who walks along a wire at the circus is called a what rope walker? So have a think and get answers for all 4 of those questions. And then what I want you to do is I want you to think about what links all of these answers. So what links all of these answers? And write that down as well. Moving on to our next set of questions. So question 1. Whose grandmother was eaten by the big bad wolf? Whose grandmother was eaten by the big bad wolf? Question 2. What is the most common fruit juice people drink at breakfast? What is the most common fruit juice that people drink at breakfast? Question 3. Snoopy's best friend is called Charlie who? What is Charlie's surname? That is Snoopy's best friend. And question 4. Who lived with 7 dwarfs in the famous fairy tale Snow blank? So, whose grandmother was eaten by the big bad wolf? What is the most common fruit juice people drink at breakfast? Snoopy's best friend is called Charlie who? And who lived with 7 dwarfs in the famous fairy tale Snow blank? So I need answers for all of those questions, and then I want you to look at those answers and see what links them. And I want you to write down the answer to what links all of these different answers. There's something in them that connects every single one of them. What is that? Can you spot it? And moving on to our final round in this quiz. So again, I've got 4 questions for you. You have to answer each of those questions and then you have to find the link as well. So question 1. What grows on your head? What grows on your head? Question 1. Question 2. The owl and who went to sea in a pea green boat? The owl and who went to sea in a pea green boat? Question 3. Children keep their money in what kind of little bank that they can keep at home? What kind of little bank do we call it that they keep at home that children can keep their money in? And question 4. A sausage in a bun is called a hot what? A sausage in a bun is called a hot what? So what grows on your head? The owl and who went to sea in a pea green boat? Children keep their money in what kind of little bank that they keep at home? And a sausage in a bun is called a hot what? Now, you could get the point even if you're unsure of some of the answers, because if you have a few of them and can still see the link, then it might be that you can get the extra point for what links all of these answers. So even if you know 2 or 3 of them, it might be that you can then have a really good guess at what links all of these answers. Good luck! So we have finished our Linkee quiz and we are now going to move on to our answers. So making sure you maybe have got a different coloured pen or pencil or that you're ready to mark your answers for these. Remember, you get 1 point for each question you get correct, and then you get an extra point if you manage to get the Linkee. So we are now moving on to our answers. I'm going to bring up the questions that we had for question 1, and I'm going to share the answers with you. So, name the popular food made by Captain Birch Eye that's covered in breadcrumbs. The answer to that was fish fingers. Question 2. Name the glass that reflects a car's headlights. You find them in the middle of the road in the tarmac. Thought this was quite a tricky one. These are cat's eyes. Question 3. 12 inches equals 1 what? It equals 1 foot. And question 4, name Noddy's friend who is a wise bearded gnome. That is big ears. So what links all of these answers? You've got fish fingers, cat's eyes, 1 foot and big ears. Of course, they are all body parts. So well done if you got any of those answers correct, and especially if you then also got that Linkee correct as well. Moving on to round 2, and the picture that is on the top of your screen may be giving you a clue as to what these answers are. So let's go with question 1. Who is Winnie-the-Pooh's best friend? The answer is, of course, Piglet. Question 2. Who is Susie Sheep's best friend? Now, I didn't know the answer to this one, but I'm hoping that some of you who have got younger brothers and sisters would know, and also if you maybe watched it when you were a bit younger. It is Peppa Pig. Question 3. In the book Charlotte's Web, who was Charlotte's 4-legged friend? Now, I loved Charlotte's Web when I was younger, and I still do today, so I knew that the answer to this question was Wilbur. And question 4, who is Kermit the Frog's girlfriend? Kermit the Frog's girlfriend is Miss Piggy. So now I'm hoping with my picture clue and with all of the answers there, that you have guessed correctly that Piglet, Pepper, Wilbur and Miss Piggy are all pigs, which is the correct Linkee. So well done if you managed to get that, and well done if you got all 4 of those answers correct. Moving on to the next set of questions. I'm going to show you all of the questions, and then we're going to go through our answers. So question 1 was, which supermarket is famous for selling frozen food? The answer to that is Iceland. Question 2, what sort of pepper is very hot? And the answer was chili. Question 3, which bird is typically eaten at Christmas? Which bird is typically eaten at Christmas? That would be turkey. And what are the biggest animals in the world? They live in the sea and can be longer than 2 buses. That is whales. Now, I know this is a bit cheeky because some of them are spelt slightly differently, but we have got Iceland, we've got Chile, we've got Turkey, and we've got Wales. And the thing that links all of those is that they are all countries. So Iceland, Chile, spelt with the E there, Turkey, and Wales without the H. But if you read them out loud, you can hear that they are all countries. So well done for anyone that spotted that, as that was a bit cheeky with the different spellings. Moving on to our next set of questions, we'll show you those and we'll go through our answers. So what is another name for a baked potato? Another name for a baked potato is a jacket potato. I've underlined the word jacket there. A container full of costumes is called a fancy what box? It's a fancy dress box, of course, a fancy dress box. Question 3. If a player scores 3 goals in a game, it's called a what? It's called a hat trick. A hat trick. And I've underlined the word hat there. And question 4. A person who walks along a wire at the circus is called a what rope walker? They are called a tightrope walker. So we have got jacket potato, dress, hat trick and tight. So jacket, dress, hat and tights. What links all of these answers? It is that they are items of clothing. Well done if you got this one correct. I thought this one was quite tricky. So I'm going to bring up our next lot of questions that we have here. And let's go through these answers, shall we? So question 1, whose grandmother was eaten by the big bad wolf? Of course, it was Little Red Riding Hood's. Question 2, what is the most common fruit juice people drink at breakfast? And the most common one is orange juice. So we've got Little Red Riding Hood, red is underlined. We've got orange juice. Snoopy's best friend is called Charlie who? He's called Charlie Brown. I'm hoping by now you should have got the link between them. But question 4, who lived with 7 dwarves in the famous fairy tale? It was, of course, Snow White. What links all of these answers? So we've got Little Red Riding Hood, orange, brown and white. They are, of course, all colours. Unfortunately, we are now moving on to our last set of questions and our last answers. So we have got here, what grows on your head? I'm hoping we all got this one. It is hair. The owl and who went to sea in a pea green boat? It was the owl and the pussycat that went to sea in a pea green boat. Question 3, children keep their money in what kind of little bank that they keep at home? Of course, it is a piggy bank that they keep at home. And a sausage in a bun is called a hot what? It is in fact called a hot dog. So we have got hare, pussycat, piggy bank and dog. So what links all of these answers? I'm hoping that we got this one correct, and it is of course animals that link all of these answers. Well done to everyone that has completed this quiz. What I'd like you to do now is make sure you total up all of your marks, and then I'm hoping that your teachers can get back to me and they can tell me who got the highest score in each class, and maybe we can see who has got the highest score across the whole school. So well done. So what I have done for you is, as well as sending this quiz, I've also sent some blank Linkee cards so that you can now make your own Linkee questions up. So what you've got to do is you've got to think of something that you could have a theme or a link between, and then think of questions that you could ask that would get you those answers that would then have that link. What you can then do is, once you've written out your questions and answers, you could test people in your bubble, or you could each individually read yours out and see whether anyone else in your bubble understands and knows what your answers are, and then also what your link is. Good luck!